Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Shooting the Shelf here on Just Shelve It. I'm Jesse Arnold, and it is episode 12 of season 2. With me is my wonderful co-host, Curtis Ackerman. How are you doing tonight, Curtis?
Doing excellent.
Fantastic. Got the chats blowing up. We got Travis, Ryan, Nate, Joe, Mark. Welcome, everybody, and to all who join in later in the show or on the replay. Thank you all so much for being here. But hey, we've got a very special guest tonight. It is a return guest to the show. Let's give a warm digital round of applause to the one, the only, Matthew Rodriguez.
How was that R? It was pretty good.
It was decent. I mean, it wasn't Bushati quality, but it was.
Well,
it was
yeah, he's had a lot more practice though too.
There's some big shoes to fill in.
Now you said good morning. I feel like we're on like a late night talk show where it's recorded at a different time that it's shown. Yes. Is that how this works?
Good morning's just my thing. I love saying it when I work at the comic shop because it throws people off. They're like, "What?" And I'm like, "Good morning." Yeah.
Oh.
So even if you only have 2 hours left in your day, it's good morning. You can have a good rest of your day starting from now.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, most people's day doesn't start till our show comes on. So that's what the deal is. Yeah.
Nice. And I see we're sharing some screen time with your new co-host. So he was not here last time I joined you. So
correct.
Hello, Curtis. Congratulations on the 7th show that you're producing / hosting.
Appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Well, cool. Well, Matt, also new since we prepped you for this before the show started, but we've got a new segment we call. I gotta get back to the beginning of that slideshow. We've got our shelf selection where we go through some stuff that jumped out at Curtis and I this week. So
awesome.
Let's just jump into it.
Yep, this one I picked out, and this is from a up-and-coming artist, Emil Wickman. He does a few things. He kind of dabbles in a few different things, some sculpting, some painting, apparently now digital art. So we all know and love Emil, and this is his stone troll that he came up with, and just fabulous. I mean, this guy, you know, Steven tells people to stay in their lane, and Emil's one that just does not stay in a lane. He is all over the place, and everything he touches turns to gold, and this is just another example. So I love it.
Yeah, I love the foggy effect coming in, just that heavy footfall. Like you feel the ground shaking in this picture. This guy is walking towards you.
Oh yeah.
It's incredible. He posted it, and I've seen some of his work, and he's a fantastic artist. But then all of a sudden I see this, and I'm like, that's just not fair.
Yeah. Every time
are we confident it's not AI art because it's so good.
I don't. Yeah. It's got the right number of fingers, so I'm pretty sure
it's got troll fingers and toes.
I grabbed this one from our friend Greg, formerly Brute Scale Greg, Ogre Scale Greg. I don't know. I was scrolling through my feed, and just the color on this. I mean, it's one of his shelf displays, and his stuff. I've not been there in person, but it's just crazy awesome. And this one just jumped out at me today, especially with little Alf hiding back behind that giant blaster. So I had to grab this one.
Yeah, a lot going on here. I have not seen Greg's display in person either. I've seen some photos, and everything that I hear is that it's just amazing. And this is just a great example. A lot going on here. It looks like a scene right out of a movie. So, yeah, cool stuff.
Another one of Curtis's picks.
Yeah, this is DC Motu Nerd, and just. You know, we've talked about it a few times before on the show. Anytime that I see a figure that's mostly done in white, like my hat's off to anybody that does that, because it just takes so much patience and time in order to layer that right and not have it look bad or clumpy or having, base coat show through. So the amount of time that went into creating this character is, like I said, hats off. But then on top of that, the overall look, the trim details in there that with that kind of reddish color, the face on that dwarf, that's the minor head from Wolf King Customs that Len just put out not too long ago. And, just a great paint job on the face as well. But overall, just awesome look and awesome figure.
I don't have much to add, like to elaborate on it. 'Cause I love the little silver points on the end of his boots. Like I think that's a nice little flashy touch there.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool seeing a lot of different designs when it comes to that stuff, because it just pops. I don't think I've seen one painted up quite like this. So that's really cool.
Yes, it is. And up next, from is that Jamie? Is it Jamie Henderson? I can't read that.
Yes, it is.
I couldn't grab. These were some of the best shots I could grab trying to screen cap his. So this is like the dwarf gauntlet, and he's making this massive like dwarven memorial like Dio statue, and it just blew me away when I saw the beginning of this a couple weeks ago. But this today, with like the way the axes are mounted on there, and it's going to be like a wall mount. So it's like two hands coming out like this, holding like a platform diorama. And it feels like something right out of, if the Four Horsemen had designed a set for Erebor in the Hobbit movies or something.
Yeah, it's very big, elaborate. I like, we've seen a lot of dioramas that are like either for a DTOF or a tabletop or something like that, but to actually have one that's going to be a wall mount just like coming out at you, is pretty cool. And just the amount of detail that he's putting into that, can't wait to see the finished painted product and what all it's going to look like. But so far it's coming together really nicely.
Yeah. So for anyone watching, whether you're watching live or on the replay, if you're in the Mythic Legions Cabal, check out, I don't know what or if his Instagram handle, if he has one, but in the Cabal, look up Jamie Henderson and look for those videos. These pictures are not doing it justice.
This one is we've got Joe in the chat there, Joe G Customs, Joe Gonzalez, and I just love the way that this character came out. That's the Bobo Jr. head. I believe that's a Planetary Dog Toys torso there, the overweight torso. And then just love the little walking stick and the fur, and like the whole thing is just like, this guy just reeks of awesomeness. And then you put him in front of that little Castle Grayskull door, and it's like, yeah, this is a winner for me.
I liked. I think it was this one I saw that it's with the Mama Mud Thump. I thought that was just seeing them side by side. I was like, oh, okay, yep.
Yeah,
it's like yeah. Oh, sorry, I skipped ahead. Matt, any comments?
No, I'm just enjoying, man. Honestly, that turned out great. Good job. And it was Joe.
Great job on that.
Yeah, he's in the chat right now. So
nice.
Looks like we got. Looks like we're both clicking on stuff over here. Curtis, you go ahead. And
we're fine. We're fine.
Or maybe my mouse.
Oh, there you go. That must be.
I wonder if that's
the Instagram for Jamie Henderson. Gotcha.
Yes. Thank you, Stephanie. All right. Up next, the one and only Cullen Culp, Toy Culprits on Instagram, sharing this fun picture of Dubon and was it Verdelfonier, his falcon, and I don't remember which bird that is from the bird wave, but I don't know. Again, it just jumped out to me when I saw it. I like the lighting on it.
Yeah, I like this shot. Like you said, the lighting, it kind of creates this scene. I kind of feel like Dubon's bird just brought him a message, and he's relaying that message, or something like that is going on in this scene. And it just, the way that he set it up looks really cool. So,
I got to come back to this. Trevor, I was not talking about your photos. I was talking about my screen grabs of the live video or the video. So it wasn't even of the quality of his video. It was my screen grabs. Yes, Dubon. This is I cannot wait to get this figure. He looks great. Yes, I'm excited, and this is a great. Cullen's always posting fun stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I think I messed up my orders here. This is another
That's
one
all
I
right.
picked from Perry's Toy Box on Instagram. I got into finally reading or listening to audiobooks of Drizzt at the end of last year.
Mm-hmm.
Through a couple friends, Danny and Travis, highly recommended. So I finally read them. So seeing the Hasbro Drizzt figure, I believe he said leaving the Underdark or going to the surface world or something is the tag on it. It was just a really cool thing now that I understand that reference. So yeah, just the way the lights coming through the arch of that door is just really cool to me.
Yeah, that's an amazing shot. I love the way that he set that up, and you got the little stuff on the ground behind him, and it just looks very realistic. And then that light coming through it really brings the whole thing together. It's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Have either of you read or listened to any of the Drizzt books?
I have not.
Okay.
I have been recommended.
Okay.
It's all about time. Like I just don't quite have enough time for it right now. But yeah, Travis definitely he definitely pushes that series.
Yeah, the way that I kind of think of books is if it's good enough, they're going to make a movie, and I'll wait for that. So, like Last Ronin, I'm waiting for a live action movie because I hear it's good, but I don't believe it enough to read. So
there we go. Even in typing, it's better than mine.
That's pretty good.
And there's another one of
yep, this one was mine. This is Nolan Collects on Instagram. And it's just a pop and swap, but it's a badass pop and swap. Looks like it's mostly the Xylernian guard pieces. Then you've got some, I think it's Valak legs in there, and then either a barbarian. I think that's the regular barbarian. It doesn't look like the gladiator skin tone, but it's got some bare chest and bare arm in there. And I love the way this looks. And this is just a perfect example of, if you don't paint and you don't sculpt and you don't do any of that other stuff with the Mythic Legion line, you can have a lot of fun just mixing and matching parts. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the things that I love a lot about it, and was really a fun part of Legion's Con was having that, kind of pop and swap breakout session, and, just seeing things like this come out of it. So yeah, it's just awesome.
If I was in war in this setting, I would definitely be asymmetrical, one armor side, one side open. It's just the coolest look.
It is, and I think it's functional too, because then you have one side that you can kind of protect yourself with, and the other side you have much more ability. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cool.
Exactly. Great. Great.
I also love the pose on here with the sword. Like, it's just, I don't know, just the way that he's got that pose with his hand on the sword is just like he's ready for action.
Yeah. 100%. I love seeing that. Like, I like that helmet on the Xylernian guard as is, but like seeing it on this guy, I'm like, like Mad Max in medieval times kind of vibes right here.
Yeah.
And up next, we got a couple. Curtis and I were both talking about this one. And Curtis, I will break the news here. We are going to get Mr. C on the show here at some point this spring. So
I just saw that come across my inbox. So,
cool. So this die I've been seeing build Mr. C 50/50 on Instagram. Not sure what if he's in the Cabal. I'm sure he's in the Cabal, but I'm not sure what his name is in the Cabal. But this dio he's been building is a full, I think it's like 3 feet by 3 feet tall and 4 feet wide or something like that. This thing is massive, and he's still going to do the inside. So he's got like tables and furniture and all this stuff to do inside. Believe it is a commission for someone. But just like this full, 360 up, down, below on this dio is just insane. And he's taken his time, and it looks, he's got a Mythic Legion in there for the scale. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I this is one of my favorite Instagrams to follow. Does a lot of shots like in progress pics to where you can see kind of how he's, cutting the foam, how he's putting it together, like the different forms that he's using for, wood and brick and so on and so forth. So you kind of get to see it throughout the process and kind of see how he's putting this together. If anybody's out there kind of wanting to get into dios, it's a great Instagram to follow just to kind of see how that stuff comes together. And then when you see a finished product or nearly finished product like this, it's just amazing. It looks so realistic. I know there were some shots on there where he had like showing how the wires are ran for the lights and stuff. And it's just came out fantastic. And like I said, highly recommend that Instagram for anybody that is interested in dios or just wants to see some cool stuff. So
absolutely. Oh, take a drink.
Oh yeah, you did say absolutely.
Okay. And I think, yep, that is it for our shelf selections. Throw in a couple comments here. Dio is a flex. Absolutely insane. I 100% agree.
Yeah, that's got to be, that piece has to be like, he's got a room where he has his collection, and there's just a nice center table that can just sit on so that you can walk around it. Like it's going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the fact that I don't know. I mean, I know you said he's going to work on the inside too. I don't know how that opens or how you access the inside, but
yeah,
that'd be interesting to see as well.
I want to say I read somewhere in his comment or his description, he used over like 200 or 300 magnets. So I'm assuming the stuff just snaps. Maybe certain walls will break apart. I know Brian Almeida's done some cool stuff in the Cabal, showing people how they can do stuff with that. So
gotcha.
Yeah, I'll be excited to when we get him on in the spring, later in the spring. But
cool.
We'll move along here to our guest tonight, Matt. You have some fun stuff coming up in a month.
Yeah. Speaking of awesome art, you do a little bit yourself. Like, I know you draw a little bit. I've seen some of your work there, and then you've also write, and you do a lot of creative things. And kind of before we get into your toy line, like talk to us a little bit about your inspirations and what kind of things interest you in terms of storytelling and drawing and that kind of stuff.
I'm sitting here and I'm looking up at YouTube videos of Doom Patrol, DC property. I've got a book of concept stuff for Motu over here, and I'm working on some art right now. Just as far as inspiration goes, as we spoke about right before we started the show, like, I'm a sucker for concept stuff. I'm a sucker for the process. And I believe that the only reason why any of this is coming full circle for me as far as getting stuff out there with these comics and soon to be toy line and stuff was that I've just been doing concept stuff for so long that it ends up becoming something. Because I tell you what, like, my sketchbook, I'll sit and sketch something. I'll sketch 100 things before I finish one actual picture. And that's just kind of how my mind always works with ideas. But again, like I said, it's just because I've been doing that for so long. Eventually there's enough finished product to kind of share and show. But yeah, I absolutely enjoy the process. I love the vision of it. I mean, I've talked to a handful of mutual friends of ours, and I love hearing other people's visions. Like, I'm literally like I'm sketching a logo for a show that has you guys on it that you don't even know about probably, unless dude showed you the logo. But like, I'm fiddling with stuff that like I there's no reason for me to even fiddle with as far as like conceptually. So I definitely was that kid that like I'd redesign logos, I'd redesign ideas. Somebody would say, "Hey, I have this idea," and I love hearing that, so I can kind of feed into it. So that's kind of, I guess, where all of it starts, is kind of being creative, but then also liking the process of going through kind of the steps of making something. I mean, essentially, I mean, I talk circles around your question, but I think that
No,
might.
that's cool.
Yeah.
Like, I think one of the that's awesome. Like, one of the earliest things I can remember seeing from you before I even knew that you were doing the comic books and stuff was the first character contest they did on Podcasters of the Universe. Because I know they just recently did another one. And the first one that they did, you know, you had all these people submitting ideas for creating a character. And some were drawings, some were stories, some were cosplay. And then you took all of those people's ideas and you like brought them to life in a comic form, and kind of did this art style where you did all these people's creations. And it was just amazing. Like, you know, to see, you know, I know like my daughter, she submitted one, and to see hers brought to life in a comic form, like she was just over the moon. And I know there were a lot of other people that kind of shared that enthusiasm.
Which one was your daughter's?
She had the one of the cosplay ones. She was like was like a female Skeletor type thing.
Oh, okay. Yeah. And that's the thing too, where that kind of fuels me, you know, seeing how many people entered this concept or entered this contest. And it's just really cool seeing where everyone's head's at, because you can literally give them a description of like, okay, enter your own character, you know, that type of thing. And then everyone's minds just go all different directions. And so, yeah, that was a lot of fun. And again, that's like me sticking through though, like that concept sketch stuff. Like, I'm like, I can do that all day long. So it's not I think that I've kind of mastered the 3-minute sketchy art drawing that like people think, oh, he must be really good if he puts more time into this. But my secret is I never put more time into it. So if I'm at the car lot and my buddy's, my brother-in-law selling a car, and there's little kids up here just like chilling, I'll pull out my pad and I'll do like a quick 1.5-minute Spider-Man, and they think it looks amazing. And I'm just like, it's just machine work for me. It's like 1.5 minutes. But I could never finish a wonderful picture of Spider-Man for somebody, you know. That's just not in my range of talent. Well, not like a meal. Like, you go back to that picture where it's just like you see something that like that come out of a meal, and you're like, this guy, like he's like down here with me, and then he's up there with Barch, and it's like, come on, Emil.
But you are like, just in the little time that I've known you, like, you're a very good storyteller, not just your comics and stuff, but like, even when I hear you break down like a movie or a show, you know, when you guys were going through the Revelations reviews and you kind of talked about what worked, what didn't work, and what things you would have liked to see different, like some of your ideas, it's like, man, I wish he was in the writer's room for, you know, when they were putting that together, like the whole Evelyn at the end and how they could have changed that and kind of done, you know, without her getting the sword, but kind of did some other stuff. Like, I think you got a good mind for that kind of thing.
No, I appreciate that very much. And yeah, when it comes to that stuff too. And I mean, I've done the podcast with a handful of the other guys and all of our friends. And it's like, in jest, we kind of like to dig at movies or shows and stuff like that. But then to actually take the time to like, okay, let's dissect this a little bit and let's see what we could have expanded on or built on. Because I think only doing one of those things, like breaking it down, like all of us can do that. Like that doesn't take very much talent, but to be able to break it down specifically to build it back up into, hey, this could have worked out 10 times better, or this show might have gotten a season 2 if X, Y, and Z was done differently. I enjoy those conversations much more than, you know, the quick quick jabs, although those can be fun as well. But
right. Well, and I'd like to circle back to that later, because I'd like to, going into the next go round, I guess, with Kevin Smith, kind of see what your thoughts and what you'd like to see on that. So we'll circle back to that, because as we, continue to then talk about, your talent for storytelling, this kind of thing, you do have a couple different comic book series out there. You want to kind of talk about those for people that may not be aware of those?
Yeah. Technically, we've got 3 books out right now, although one has officially been, as your show pun intended, shelved. Disciple 6 has been shelved officially because our artist for issue 1 a few years back, he actually was hired by DC Comics, which is kind of cool to be able to say, like, well, we can't continue this book because our artist he's too busy with bigger things. But I think it worked out best for the book. My eventual pitch with Disciple 6, I would want to do is to just flesh out the story Bible and world as much as possible, write 10 episodes and have a 3 or 4 season outline, and just try to pitch it in animated form. That would be kind of my dream for that property. But then we have Defenders of Eden, which has been around. You talk about character contests, and I mean, originally that's kind of where it was all birthed from, was my fan fiction avatar on He-Man.org and a couple other buddies that got together, and we wanted to kind of make our own characters, and that's kind of what birthed all of that book. And so issue 4 is well on its way. So then we're going to have this entire trade for Defenders of Eden done this year, so that jumping to the Kickstarter for the toy line, that you're going to be able to buy the trade. That's going to be an add-on, the trade. But then also we're going to have that one single issue of just Armies of Ashmore, all dinosaur, kind of flesh out the world of Ashmore and flesh out those dinosaurs. And it's going to be fun. That there's been enough people asking for it, and people have definitely been buying the Defenders of Eden book. But seeing people's faces light up when they see the dinosaurs themselves and the action figures, I'm like, okay, we're going to write a single issue just to kind of flesh that out more, because although they are in the overall book of Eden and the world of Eden, the armies are not like kind of the main basis. So that's why I wanted people to know too as well. Like, they're like, oh, I'm going to buy this book because this action figure looks really cool. And then they read it and they're like mentioned in like 4 pages or whatever, so we definitely want to give fans more of the armies. So that's the plan. And then the final one rounding it out would be
real quick with that Defenders of Eden. I know one of the things that you had that you had sent out with some of the folks on Kickstarter was that little booklet that kind of broke down the characters. Like, to me, that was gold. Like, with like the more of the bios and information about them and stuff.
Yeah. Growing up in the 90s, and just I've got those Marvel trading cards in my veins, just to turn them around and see who stacks up against who, and who, this fun fact about this character or that character. So anytime I can do some sort of like a bio book, and I mean, we haven't released them yet, but even for this wave 1 of the armies, we're going to drop those bios as well. And so, anytime you can do that. So we definitely have the World of Eden bio book, and a lot of people like that type of stuff because it allows the characters to breathe on their own. And it allows the readers to kind of pretend and wonder and think and imagine and all that good stuff too. So,
well, and like for somebody, I just talked about a little bit earlier about how I really don't like to read too much. Like, I can't just sit down and read a book, but you give me like a little bio book with a little kind of story for each person. It's like, man, this is quick. I can whip these out, and it just adds a little bit more detail to that person. So then when you are reading the comic book, it's like, okay, I know a little bit about this character, so I understand why they're maybe saying some of the things that they do or acting a certain way or whatever. Right. It just adds a little bit more to that.
It fleshes out their voice definitely a little bit too. And so so that's always fun. We definitely have that book revamped, and then we also have an art of, as odd as it sounds, but we've got so much art that people haven't seen, and the process of doing all of this, where, as creative as I consider myself, I will never deny anyone's recognition. So, like, I mean, I've told people the story a million times. Like General Siros, when like he was created, I wrote it all out and in my head, and I have the sketches I sent to CJ, and I don't know how odd it's going to sound. This might throw Steve off, but like I had a crush on Sarah from Land Before Time, like way back in the day, because like she was just a cute Spitfire character. And so I had General Siros. I had this orangish yellow Triceratops, and I'm sketching it out and everything. And so I send it over to CJ, and all of a sudden he sends me back this sketch, and like he's got this part of his plate that's been bit and torn off by these snakes, and he's missing the nub on his tail, and he's got this scar on his eye, and I'm just like, okay, you win. Like I'm not going to be like, you know what, CJ, you stick to the script I gave you. I will fully admit when somebody's thought or idea is like superior to mine as far as storytelling goes. So then Siros was born. So I mean, he was born from CJ's mind as far as I'm concerned. So that type of art and stuff to show too. So we're going to be showing that stuff as well when we get to this this kind of the art of type of style book. But and then as far as the comics go, rounding it out, we get back to our Modern Wonders, my superhero title, which I just got the last page of issue 3 done a week ago, and I sent the script for issue 3 to the editor last week, and I'm like, again, there's He-Man over here, and there's 90s Marvel / X-Men over here, and one was my childhood and one was my kind of my teenager years. And so when it gets into that superhero world of Modern Wonders, I've just I never wanted to write a superhero comic book, but I had enough superhero sketches and ideas in my head and on paper that I was just like, you know what, we're gonna do this. So that's the one where basically, I don't know if you guys, but the DNA, they find the gene, and so then if you have a mutation or a different, you have this gene in your blood, you're technically considered a wonder. So it's the whole world's kind of this wonder, and it's considered the Wonderverse is kind of like the universe of these heroes. And I'm super excited to get to issue 4 because I've been like dragging this on. And issue 4 is like where everything kind of connects and everything makes sense. So it's odd right now, like writing these first 3 issues that are like pieces of this puzzle, but now we're starting to fully see kind of this arc form. And so it's getting better, and it's going to be better, and it's going to be fun. And I absolutely love, I love this universe that we're kind of putting out there. So yeah, well, so those are the comics.
It's interesting you say that about like kind of the Motu and then like your teenage X-Men thing, because I get that vibe. Like when I'm reading Defenders of Eden, it's more of a, you know, kind of a Saturday cartoon. It's not like children, but it is family friendly. It's a, you know, it's a everybody can read. I read Modern Wonder and it's like, man, there's some serious stuff in here. Like this is it gets deep and there's some stuff in
yeah, exactly. And that's why I hesitate too when people are like coming up to and they're like, well, what's this one about? And I'm like, well, this one's fantasy kind of kid friendly and this one's superhero. And they're like, oh, well, my kid likes superhero. I'm like, and then I'm thinking of a couple panels of stuff that happens and I'm like, I don't know if a little kid should be reading this. I mean, it's obviously not like,
it's not the boys, but
curse words and things like that. But yeah, it's definitely got some themes that are a little bit more aggressive.
Yeah. So, well, with that, so you know, let me tell you a quick story real quick before we go into your figures, because I know I've been following and getting your Kickstarter and getting the comics, and when I got the Defenders of Eden, the first issue I read that I saw that the Triceratops. I
Yeah.
looked at it and I sent you a picture, and I'm like, this needs to be made into an action figure. And this
Yep.
is like whatever it was, 2 years ago or something.
Yep.
And I remember you had said, well, it's funny you say that. And you know, like you were already working on stuff for that. So I know this has been a long process for you. And I know Jesse's got some pictures lined up, and we'll get into those and see what that looks like. So I don't know. Do you have anything else that you want to say before we start pulling up the pictures?
Not really. No, I'm ready to dive
right.
in.
Let's hit it, Jesse.
I want to say I'm really excited about that the art book you were mentioning, like that, like especially when it comes to dinosaurs. As a kid, there was never enough. There was always like the super like scientific stuff, which was like, oh my gosh, this is mind numbing. But I still tried to read it, but I didn't understand half the words because they were too big for me. And then there was like the toys, and they were so janky and cheap. And then there was, like you said, Land Before Time, and then Jurassic Park hit and blew my mind open about dinosaurs. And you know, they've always been a part of life for me. So what was it, Dinotopia? I remember I wanted to get into that stuff so hard when I was a kid, but like the book was too expensive or whatever. And you know, I guess they had shirts or something at they had like a clothing line, like really nice printed versions on like sweatshirts and stuff. But like I was never able to get into it. So all that to say, seeing what you've got coming, and the fact that the Defenders of Eden are just part of, or the armies of Ashmore are just a part of the Defenders of Eden. It's not even the whole world. Just blows my mind that like how rich that world can be fleshed out, like all the possibilities that are there and what you're already doing with it in the comic and where all of this could go in the future just has me very excited for the toys just as a fan and for you.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate it very much.
All that. So
yeah, I've never been into like dinosaur toys. I always liked dinosaurs, like picture books and things like that when I was a kid. But I've always liked the anthropomorphic, you know, figures like Battle Beast, or anything like that, where you're like taking these animals and then putting them in kind of a humanoid form. And so when I saw your figures, like, you know, I've seen them now at a couple shows with, you know, it was at MesquiCon, and you had them on display at Legions Con, and they're just fabulous. So thank you, man. Yeah, let's take a look. See what we got.
Bring up right here, and I'm going to throw this up here real quick too for anyone. defendersofeden.com, really easy to find.
You know, it's a pretty website, but it's worthless. I'm going to be honest to all your fans. Like, I just have it to have it, but like, I don't know what I'm doing. All I'm literally doing is posting pictures and links to other pictures. So like,
I mean,
I don't know.
What else do you need?
I don't know. I just feel like it's one of those things where fake it till you make it type of thing. I'm like, okay, well, we're going to put these up here. So
it works for me.
I think this is a fantastic place to start. Now, I can't see what's showing up on our screen except the sides of our faces. So can you guys see that okay?
Yep.
All right.
There's a general.
Yeah. You can see the chunk taken out of his, what would you consider that? That's not his ear, is it?
I describe it as his head plate. It's almost like the bone plate around the back of it. I'm sure there's one of your dinosaur friend nerds right now is going to be chatting, telling me exactly the term, and I apologize. Man, but there's the little scene in issue 1 where they have the flashback, and the little queen as she's telling the story of the story that was told to her about when her egg was saved by General Siros when he was a warrior, and it's an awesome scene. But yeah, those snakes, the Serpian warriors, kind of tore him up.
Yeah, I love the detail, like right behind the horn there, where it's like, you know, just you can kind of see the scaly and the like how it's like a little bit different color.
And if you notice, actually, he's the only one in the kingdom. He's got 2 rings on his horn, and those actually symbolize his service, the different levels of service to the armies. And so that's something that we actually address in this next in issue 4, which is kind of cool because he hasn't had his rings for these first 3 issues, but he actually is presented with them in issue 4. So it's kind of a cool little detail.
Oh, that's neat.
Oh, that's so cool. Yeah, I love that you went so hard. Or like you said, was it CJ,
Yep.
the
Yep.
character, like how hard he went on the damaged eye, how it's like sealed shut, and like Curtis was saying, you can actually see my mouse this time, right?
Yep.
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 Like finally.
Yeah,
Not
and shout
wiggling
out
his
to
You can
mouse
see
around
what
for
you're
nothing.
pointing at.
shout out to CJ Edwards. So you guys look him up on Instagram and on Facebook, and even on he has his website, CJ Edwards Art, and then I think he has a Deviant Art account, but he's got about, I'd say, close to between 30 and 40. He did a mashup of DC Comics and Motu artwork,
Yeah.
Okay.
and it's really cool creative stuff too. So definitely look him. I think he calls it Masters on Infinite Earth or something like that. He kind of titled it,
Okay.
but definitely look up his stuff on there.
I'm gonna bring up this comment from Nate saying you got to get Slash onto these. He's a massive Dino guy. I don't know who that is. Is it like the musician Slash?
I assume that's what he means. That's the only. I'm.
Okay.
It's either musician or bad guy from Turtles.
Right. That's what I thought at first too. And I was like, he's a massive Dino guy. And I was like, Nate, I have to hook Matt up with that.
Yeah, apparently Nate knows A-list celebrities that I don't know.
Yeah.
So Nate text him and let him know.
Probably let him use his private jet once or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep scrolling through the
Yep.
photos. Love the designs on these weapons, how the Triceratops theme is worked into
It's kind of
just the
that
whole
silhouette.
thing,
Yep.
the profile or the straight on look here is that's just so cool. And I don't know if we've said it yet, but of course this is Four Horsemen, I believe, are the ones who did the sculpting on these, correct?
Correct.
Like
Yep. The Four
okay.
Horsemen are the sculptors that I hired for this project. We've been over 10 years in coming as far as just conceptually. If any of your friends want to look at something funny, they can find like my one failed Kickstarter attempt 10 years ago when I was like, I'm doing this. And I was a little bit too bright-eyed and young buck back then. But yeah, so this time around we said, hey, we're going to go to the best and cross our fingers and hope they like our concepts enough to want to help us along on this journey. So I know they probably get tons of people asking them for their services. I mean, obviously we paid for it, but just the fact that their studio decided that this was one that they liked conceptually enough to say, hey, you can hire us. I was just absolutely thrilled. So
now the first character we showed was a named character, but the rest are all Legion builders. Is that correct?
no.
Okay.
So I had a fan,
Mm-hmm.
and he's a pretty big fan of the line. I can't tell you his exact name, but it's I'll just say his name was like Bivon Skashadi. And he basically said, you really should consider making these characters that you're releasing actual characters in your book. And so I had to kind of shove down the Puerto Rican pride, and I decided it's hard for me to even say the words, he was right. And so we decided to make actual one of each character of the armies, of the divisions of the army, actual characters in the book. And so that's what this single issue of the Armies of Ashmore is going to be about. We're going to get to know a little bit more about these main characters.
Oh, cool.
And so, for instance, this guy, his pupils aren't painted on yet in this picture, but they sent me some of these shots. So, but this is Rydor. He's of the Infantry Warrior Division. And so, yeah, he's kind of your everyman. His bio is pretty cool. When you'll see it when we put up the Kickstarter, but he's just basically this character. He has a big heart, and he understands that he is a cog in a bigger story. He's just a piece of it, and he's totally fine with that, and he's loving the ride. So
awesome.
Gotcha.
Oh man, that's what I was gonna say. How is it seeing from the concepts you sketched and things that CJ worked on with you, seeing the horsemen bring them to life in this way? Like, is it like,
most of the, I guess I'd say most of the design work stuff was done. I mean, we've had these. I mean, like, so for example, like this guy right here, this is in the 3.75-inch scale. Back in the day when everything was going in that
Nope.
GI Joe scale. So this was hand sculpted by Thomas Tolman like 10-ish years ago, when we were going to go in this scale. So a lot of the design work overall has been done for a long time, but the stuff that the Four Horsemen added was everything that we needed. I mean, they just know what they're doing. So for example, right there, Rydor, he's got his helmet on. And so our initial line, the helmets were on. You couldn't take them off. But that's something that specifically the Horsemen said, like, no, like you need to do this. And I obviously, I wasn't going to argue with them when it comes to, a design aesthetic of a toy. So, and then also those shoulder pads were actually the first go run that the Horsemen did. They were actually they were the shoulder itself. And so it wasn't until they redesigned that side of it and added those pegs on the back, sort of with that. I think they use it in their Mythic Legions line. It has that hole on the back of the buck. So different things like that their knowledge of toys and kind of design work that they added that just kind of pushed us as far as the overall quality.
Okay.
So now you can have, multiple heads, different looks to them. We've got different hand sets that we're going to try to, hopefully, again, with the Kickstarter, I think one of our first stretch goals is going to be if we can pack in three sets of hands with each guy, where we definitely want to. We just have to reach certain numbers to get there. So,
okay.
I love that black and gold. That looks awesome.
Yeah, that definitely pops. And again, these paint schemes that we had picked out, that they just did a good job putting them on the shield and on the axe, where they're the same weapons, but they look so drastically different just as far as style goes.
I guess I worded my question wrong. Like, just the designs are there, but like seeing the product like come. I know you had the smaller versions. Like seeing
the product has been, dude. This is literally still a dream. Like it's like, look at that right there. Like,
I'm
like,
looking.
like I literally. Okay, so keep that guy on there.
The eye on that is awesome.
Yeah.
Just show.
That is crazy.
It's just absolutely fantastic. But like, so okay.
Oh, absolutely.
So like now I'm gonna.
Oh wow.
So this was actually on paper, but I put it on my iPad. This was actually the first sketch I ever did.
Oh, wow.
Of that character. And so seeing something like that's like I sketched out that they turn into that is just like, I'm still shocked that I'm even this far. But yeah, definitely.
I gotta say, the Stegosauruses have always been my favorite. So this guy is like, even though
that's Vazzapo or Vazzapo.
Okay.
He's the Royal Guard.
Okay.
He's definitely they're definitely considered one of the more regal dinosaurs, and they're called Saurian warriors in the world of Eden. But so he's got his long spear, and we definitely actually have a shield that hasn't been made, but it's conceptually there, so we can definitely make a shield if we raise enough money. But yeah, he just turned out. I don't think that tail peg is in all the way, but he turned out fantastic. And even having him without his armor on, and then he has his shoulder pads on too, can look really cool. no, it's it
really
still
cool.
blows my mind. And then if you guys have noticed, there's that little pegged front that each of them have a different belt.
Okay.
And that piece can kind of be popped out in and out. And it's funny because in our older ones, it was just a little gem that was a different color. But that's definitely something that CJ designed them all to have different belts. So that was, again, another quality that Corn Boy and the Four Horsemen did, that said, hey, this is how we're going to make this work. You know, and they use their knowledge in design so that we have those 5 different inserts so that they all look like they have different, a different loincloth, even though they technically all have the same one.
Well, and I know there's, obviously starting a new line and doing, all of these, the dinosaur group as one, obviously there's a sharing of tooling, but each of the characters look completely unique. Like the paint jobs and just the different details that you've added allow you to use similar tooling on them, and have it still look individual.
Well, yeah, and that was the only way that this was possible. Was to have that unique color scheme and to make them all pop differently, because with the buck this size, I mean, these like this guy stands at just over 11 inches at his highest, and he's going to have a ball joint at the mid neck there as well as the base of the neck. And so when you look at somebody like this, to have the tooling for a large brute scale figure like this, it's going to cost a lot of money. So we have to use it as much as possible, essentially. So we did different tails and different armors, and then those 2 pieces along with the color schemes, definitely like it usually. And it's funny because Mythic fans, specifically Motu fans, a lot of them, when they come up to the table, they can kind of see it after you look a little bit. But there are casual toy fans that you have to tell them they're the same action figure. Essentially, they don't see it. They just visually, their brains don't work like that. Whereas a lot of toy collectors, they do, and you can see, oh, this is the same buck as that guy and this and that. Oh, this guy, he's fantastic. The armor division, this guy's kind of a little bit more of our hothead, Raphael, if you please, type of character. But
that mask is cool.
Yeah, that I broke that mask twice, so no one's been able to see it on him since these pictures. Since it's pretty delicate, the type of plastic or resin it is, but obviously the factory's going to make it right so that it can snap on and snap off, and the helmet can come off and on too as well. So he's going to have essentially 3 different looks for his face. But yeah, this is Kuzo. He's the armor division, and he's got a really cool, again, this is the type of thing where I sent this picture of a shield over to the Horseman Designs, and I drew a jagged line through the middle of it, and I said, do you think that, I'm treading lightly because I'm hiring these guys to sculpt the toys. I'm like, do you think we could possibly make this split in half? And 2 days later, I got this image of the 3D, and this is what it looks like, where, it plugs together so he can have all these different looks, have it on his forearms, have it on his snapped into his back, and the little holders on his back armor. So yeah, those types of things. Again, it's been awesome seeing those added touches of detail that Four Horsemen Studios have really kind of knocked it out of the park with.
Yeah, that shield is my favorite part in the entire line. I just love that shield.
Yeah,
I think my new favorite thing is the tail flail right there.
Yeah. Tail flail. We were just talking about that today.
I know.
Yeah, that tail looks like it would do some damage. That's for sure.
Yeah, it does. It's so cool. Yeah, I like the way you have.
And this is this right here. This is Baina. He's the protector of the great tree. He's the protector of the goddess Natura in our comic book. So we haven't gotten to him. I'm not sure how much of the behind the scenes stuff you guys know of, but essentially this was Nate Barch's fan fiction character from He-Man.org 15 ish years ago. And out of all of the characters in Eden, I came up with 99% of them, but then there was 3 specific characters that from my friends on the org, I loved them so much that I just said to them, hey, it's going to sound weird, but I really want to do something with this world. And I'd love to, buy the rights to your character and have them in this universe. And Nate was one of them, and he kind of signed off the rights to Bana. And so Bana became part of our universe. Eel, I don't know if you know him from the first couple of comics, but Eel, there's a translucent figure of him. That's one of my other buddies' creations. Greg Kempner, he a great guy. He created Eel, so we have him, and then a guy who hasn't been in the book yet. His name's Seashell. Seashell hasn't been in the book yet, but he's another guy. So those 3, and those last pictures. Yeah, those are stactions we had made. So those are kind of in the vein of 2000X He-Man staction style action figures. Yeah, those turned out great too. So it's been awesome seeing over the past 10-12 years, seeing them kind of evolve to what we have today, which is the 5 figures that we're going to be launching on April 25.
So it's not March 25th.
No, unfortunately.
Okay.
Wasn't
you probably got some guys on this thread that are like trying to watching this video that are trying to donate or pledge place orders for me, but no, it's we are in, what would this age be? You're a comic book guy, Jesse. What would this age be? The age of toys that we are in, what would you consider it? Would I call it the golden, like we are peak toy world, aren't we right now? Like with what's available,
collecting for sure.
Yeah, I mean, because with comics, you got the golden and silver, bronze, and current or the modern age, and like that. I feel like with toys, like there's nostalgia for this stuff, but like the quality of the production of them and the durability and things are just on a totally different level now.
With what's available. And so that's what's so fantastic is looking at, you got your biblical adventures, you have your Savage Crucibles, you have your I think Almighty Angels or something almighty. There's 3
Almighty
active
Legends.
ones or almost finished ones right now. So the advice that we were given was, hey, give people time to breathe, give them a couple paychecks between. People want to support you, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to, because financially there's obligations that they might have. So we decided to just kind of push it back and let those kind of run their courses, and push ours out to April 25. So that's
any details you can share with us about the Kickstarter? I mean, obviously we know the date, but any sort of prices or how long the Kickstarter is going to run for?
Yeah. So the Kickstarter is going to run for, I think we have it set at 40 days. Price point, so I literally, and this sounds weird to say, but like, okay, so last week I get an email from my project manager that says prices have gone up. And I'm like, oh, okay, luckily and thankfully, like I am a kind of one-man show. I don't have a big toy business that I'm running. So it's not like, I have a bunch of these mouths to feed and these guys I've hired and stuff. And so as far as that, it doesn't affect us too much, but the prices are the same. Essentially, they're going to be $65 a piece. And if you buy all 5 of them, they're going to be at $60 a piece. I've been told by certain people in the toy community that that's too low. I've been told by some people that that's too high. It is what it is, though. I mean, as far as what you're getting and the value of the size figure you're getting, I don't think I've met a person that has seen them visually and came and saw the Paint Masters that have told me that it's too high, though, because when you actually see what you're getting, it's definitely different than comparing pictures online to other things and other action figures you can buy, because you have to see, I mean, in context of what it is. I think it's definitely priced as aggressively as we could. And then also we're trying to make it affordable for people that want to possibly, if they want to buy just an extra of one or the other, to give them reasons. I hired Nate Barch to do the art packaging on this. So, if you buy them through retailers, which we plan on being at, you won't get the Kickstarter exclusive packaging, that is done by Nate Barch. You won't get certain things that come along with doing it, pledging on the Kickstarter. So yeah, we plan on being at those other retailers online, but we definitely want to make it worth and the value there, as far as the Kickstarters go.
Yeah, Simon's just saying that compared to what's out there, $65 is an awesome deal for these. I agree. I mean, if you look at the size of these and you compare it to, let's say a half giant or something from Mythic Legions, or, anything that's that size, especially with the different parts that you're getting, removable pauldrons and masks and helmets and stuff, the different weapons. Yeah, definitely. I think that's a great value. I don't know why anybody would balk at that for sure.
Yeah, and it's cool too. We're even kicking around ideas where, as we're building out the Kickstarter, what are some other things we can do? I mean, would there be a fan base that would want a blank and it come with all 5 heads and all 5 tails and all 5 arms, like literally everything we have built?
Mhm.
And you just get one single blank with all those options, and you can do whatever you want with all of it. Is there, so we're kind of kicking around those ideas where we want to keep it as simple as possible, but we do also realize that a lot of people that like to back these on Kickstarter and like these rewards, they like their add-ons, they like their stretch goals, they like these options. So we want to definitely make sure that we have things available, as far as, an extra set of hand, like we said, the stretch goals. We want to include 3 sets of hands with all of them, so you can pose them differently. But we have to hit a certain number to make that possible. So different things like that. And then again too, before I was like, I don't even want to include the comic book side of things.
Mhm.
But even at MesquiCon recently, and people online asking me, hey, I want to buy your book. I've heard about your book. My buddy has your book. To have those add-ons where you say,
Mhm.
hey, if you want to buy a trade of the first 4, if you want to buy a single issue, or you want to, can we get the numbers to where it works, where we include that Armies of Ashmore comic in with a figure if you buy the figure?
Mhm.
I'm definitely willing to look at that stuff. It's just to make sure that it's worth it in the end, because the tooling's going to be 70% of 80% of what we're trying to raise, overall, just kind of trying to production stuff. Well, I think it comes to 70 to 75% of what we're trying to raise once you include the shipping, where again, that stuff too, my project manager, he says it goes up and down. So what are we going to look like, what's this going to look like late this year? So yeah.
we had that was kind of the question from Simon, was asking about stretch goals for new characters. So you're saying you would like to do stretch goals. It just kind of depends.
Yeah,
how it goes and how things happen.
and I apologize. I mean, I don't know if I should probably get it to you guys first, because you guys are gonna be online, and then I'm gonna do a different show, and then you guys are gonna be like, why didn't you share that on my show? We have a sixth, a different regimen of armies that we're going to. Did I show either of you at MesquiCon?
I wasn't at MesquiCon.
Oh,
No.
okay.
And I was stuck manning the table with Steven.
Yeah. But yeah, our main stretch goal, like our main final stretch goal, is we have a naval character, who is beautiful looking, and he definitely leans into that villain look style. So a new head, armor, tail, and weapon. But because that takes that much new tooling, we have to hit a certain number to reach that. I'll send you once I get off my phone later. When we're done, I'll send you the picture of it, so that you are the first to share that picture, because I don't need me going to bed thinking I did you guys wrong by not sharing.
That'd be great.
Just thinking of it makes me feel good. So
there you go.
Even if you forget, I won't be mad at you.
And Jesse usually does a recap after the show. Usually it's like Tuesday, where he does a recap on
Nice.
Instagram and puts a bunch of
Yeah.
pictures, so we could include that in there as well.
Yeah.
If it's
awesome,
something we can
awesome, cool.
include. If it's a secret, I won't share it. If
Oh, it's
just
not.
for
It's
us.
not. It's definitely not it's
Okay.
not a secret. It's just not something that we've shared outside of what's going to be on the Kickstarter. So I mean, I don't
okay.
mind sharing with you guys, but it's one of those things where I love talking to people about it. And like I said, I think it was before we started, where people say, "Hey, have you thought of X, Y, and Z?" And I'm just like, I'm already my second loop through the alphabet on like a lot of this stuff. So like that's awesome that like it's awesome that it makes people want to also not just feel included, but they want to share an idea. Because when people walk up to the table, and I think I spoke to you, Jesse, and some of the guys about it, was when people are like, "Oh, dino saucers, what's up, man?" Blah 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 blah, and they're like, just their face lights up and everything, and I'm like, bro, in the back of my head, I'm thinking like, this resembles dino saucers 0% in my mind, because I didn't know that show at all when I was a kid, and B, it just doesn't. There's nothing sci-fi about them, but I definitely think once I start talking to those people, it's that feeling of their inner child that's the connection they're making. And so I'll take that all day long. If it's going to bring a smile to them like that, like they might as well say to me like Street Sharks, oh, so awesome, blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean? Or like Biker Mice from Mars, holy cow.
Whatever makes that connection for them.
Right. And I think that's what makes that connection, because even before I had these figures, I was at a Comic-Con 3-4 years ago, and I have these vintage, shout out to Tyke. I had these vintage Motu figures made of mine, like if my guys were in Motu. And I had this little Tech Trek character figure. And the bottom is a painted up from, I think, one of the newer Terminator movies. And so he, did the head, did the arms. We used the Stiltwalker He-Man armor and changed it up a little bit. And it's out on my desk, and some guy walked past me and he wanted to argue with me that like I had that when I was a kid. And I'm like, bro, you didn't have that. Like, this is literally a custom. You did not have this as a kid. And he's like, but it just connected with him in that way that like, it was just funny.
It's like, I know Travis has talked about before, where he would go to a show and he would have like a Motu classic, and somebody would come up and go, "Oh, I had this as a kid in the 80s." And it's like, no, you didn't. Like, it is. And for you, but that's not what you had in the 80s. This is an updated version and this and that. But they draw that connection, and to them, it's the same thing.
Right. And again, that's where I feel like this line specifically, like it kind of hits that, where it hits that heartstring where there's that familiar feel. So I want to hit that familiar feel, but I want to be different enough that you want to learn more. And so I feel like that we're kind of in the right direction when it comes to just this property overall, with that feeling that, someone can look at the book like, oh, this looks pretty cool and it feels familiar, but I don't know these characters. So
I have to address something in the chat real quick. We've got hashtag stuck with Steven, because I said I was stuck at the table with Steven, and then Steven then says stuck.
Yeah.
I very much enjoyed my time with Steven, but I was not able to get around and see as much of the con as I would like, including as much of your stuff. So,
hey,
no offense to anybody in the chat.
Stuck, it's not necessarily a bad thing, okay? I know you see that word and you feel like it's a negative. I don't think Curtis is using it in a negative.
Absolutely not.
He's singing that Three Dog Night song in his head, stuck at the table with you.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, well, to be one of those folks that are gonna throw something out at you that I'm sure you've thought of 15 times over.
Yeah, let's hear it.
Like, one of the things, for like a stretch goal, I was thinking is like a weapons pack. Like, I would love to have that shield that you had with the one guy. I would love to have another one of those that is either painted a different color, or maybe even a solid, color, like a gray or something that, a customizer could paint up.
Yep. And that's essentially our second, or either a second or a third stretch goal, is that weapons pack, because we are paid for the tooling on them. So we want to get a little bit of use out of them.
Yep.
And because of the scale that they're in too, that they can work with other big figures and other lines and different things like that. Figuring out if the paint scheme is going to be more of a Castle Grayskull weapons rack type of paint scheme, or if it's going to be a different line paint scheme. Still fiddling with that, but that's definitely a good idea. Because we're looking at numbers right now where they might all only include one weapon unless we can reach a certain number, and then we can kind of pack both. So for instance, Theros would have the shield and Rydor would have the axe. But if we reach a different level, then like we can just include everything with everyone. Again, those are kind of like minor details where it makes sense not to kind of fully commit to one way or the other yet, just because we need to know where we need to land.
Right.
At the end. So
we got another comment here. Mark Rivera is just saying he can't wait to get these, which, kind of the next question I think that would come up is, what is your anticipated delivery date? I mean, obviously, we haven't even started the Kickstarter yet, but let's say everything goes well, it's funded. What is your thought process in terms of, when people might have these in hand?
My dream would be end of year. That'd be my dream. Because my project manager does this full time and he works very well in this world, and he works hand in hand with the factories. And since everything from a digital standpoint is done by the Four Horsemen, and the sculpts and everything's all set, I definitely think that it's not going to take as much time as some lines might, where it's kind of more of a back and forth, where the project manager I hired, this is kind of his normal routine. This is his normal world he lives in. So it's not. I think there's a lot of this communication type of stuff that we're going to be able to bypass as far as just logistics go. So that's my dream. That's my dream.
Okay.
Most likely it'll end up being, I would assume, first quarter next year.
Okay.
But best case scenario would be end of year this year. If everything went kind of boom, 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 boom. Because I even said if I've got to speed it up and jumpstart the tooling, like if that first week the Kickstarter hits and numbers are where I feel like they might end up just because of all the awesome feedback, we might just jumpstart if I reach goal within that first week, that credit card's getting swiped in China somewhere, and the tooling's going to start right then.
Gotcha.
So that's kind of the hope, but
yeah, that's pretty fast. I would say, for a new line Kickstarter, and obviously there's going to be, you have to, because it's the first run of these things, you have to check quality control and all that kind of stuff. I would say if we get those within the first year, that's definitely a huge win, like within 12-month period.
And that's most likely where it would end up falling. Again, I'm a what would it be called? I'm an optimist. I'm an optimist publicly. So publicly, I'm an optimist. So that's why I say that. But privately, I mean, you're within 12 months would be beautiful in itself. Let alone if it ended up being a 10-month window. But yeah, we just again can't wait to kind of see, because the feedback is the one thing that has kind of kept my sanity. Is that I mean, just time wise, the hours and hours and hours and then money, and all the things that are invested, that this has been a wonderful hobby. But at the end of the day, I would absolutely love to get these toys in the hands of people. That's kind of the plan.
How obviously you've been living with these characters for a long time, and the desire to see them become toys, like how, as the Kickstarter is getting closer and the onset of these becoming more and more a reality, like how much of your time is this like taking in your day or your week? Like, is this becoming, I'm not wording this right.
as far as just
Like
like
for
a second
these,
job,
yeah.
you
Like, is
you know,
this?
yeah, I think that, and Travis always gives me crap about it, but I mean, when you have sort of a creative personality and you have a little bit of that ADD kind of personality, um, it definitely has helped that I kind of have a lot of windows open on my computer up here that I'm able to, um, you know, lower one down when I gotta work for the next 3 hours selling a car, and I can pop it back up when I'm sitting there doing nothing, and those types of things. So, uh, I tell you, my wife would be the one that would know, because I mean, she's heard there's story, and this is what's funny about it too, is there's these stories that, I mean, she's just like, how many times I've heard this story about this guy and like that stuff, and I'm just like, and so she laughs about it, but um it kind of keeps it fresh, because you realize, like, when you go through the motions of like kind of doing this and like talking about this stuff, like it's wonderful and it's fun, um but it's these moments where it kind of rejuvenates my blood, because I'll have these nights where I'm just kind of like going through the motions of dealing with this stuff, and you, again, like anybody in any industry, or any creative avenue, you're like, is this worth it? I have fun, but this is kind of becoming a pain. But oh, are we going to do the podcast again tonight? I'm not feeling good. Like, you go through all of that stuff with anything. But like, even at MesquiCon recently, when we were talking about being a creative and I was talking about my comic books, and somebody in the crowd was just like, well, what inspired you to do art? And I was like, holy crap, I'm like, I haven't thought about that in a while. And so the guy that I was sitting next to, he's like a comic book veteran of 35 years, and he's doing his long ramble, which was awesome. Like, it was a good ramble. And then they came over to me, and I was like, girls, like, I remember in third grade that I figured out how to draw Looney Tune characters, and these girls' faces lit up, and I felt like $1,000,000. And so it was really fun to kind of just remember and like think on like the past of like being a creator. And I could draw Tasmanian Devil, and he just looks so cool. And so these are the moments that kind of like rejuvenate my soul when it comes to talking about this stuff, because you live with it in your own head, and then when you get to share it with people and they get to tell you stuff back, or I think of this or that, that's what kind of brings it alive. So it's part-time job wise, I'd say it's a couple hours a day, minimum. But now, would I love for all of this stuff to be end up having some sort of financial uh income? Would be fantastic, but I mean, it's the kind of thing where I don't see that anytime soon. Hopefully with this line, we hope we break even, but um that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I love it, so that's kind of where we're at with that.
So there's some questions JG was asking. Were these formerly under a different name, and then followed up with saying Armies of Ashmore equals Defenders of Eden? Do I have that right? So we kind of answered that here, that the Defenders of Eden is the comic book series. Armies of Ashmore is one part of that. But as far as like, I get the box, what is it going to say on? Is it going to say Defenders of Eden, and then after that Armies of Ashmore?
Yep. So this wave 1 is the Armies of Ashmore.
Okay. So that's like the wave name, but the line.
Correct. So the toy line itself is going to be Defenders of Eden. Wave 1 is Armies of Ashmore, and to be completely honest with you, the way it's looking like, and the way I'm getting some of this artwork back from CJ, and the feedback from the dino lovers of the world, Wave 2 might end up being Armies of Ashmore with 5 new characters. Like, it's definitely a possibility. My graphic artist, his name's Andrew Kramer. Wonderful guy. He does the coloring and a lot of the digital stuff for the comic books. He's just incredible at that stuff. So like, yeah, he made this logo of the Armies of Ashmore, and I'm just like, it's like the wave name, and he's just like, he's making like not in a bad way, but like it looks like it's the toy line name because it just pops so well and it's so beautiful. And I'm like, shoot, now we got to do like what was it? Motu Classics, where like they have the little insert of like the new Eternia and like all the different like new adventures, all the different stuff, the Galactic Protectors. So we're basically probably going to do something like that, where each wave is kind of a different title, where we have the So, and again, the Defenders might be, if we get to wave 3 or 4, where they're all the human characters, that might be a wave of Defenders or Evil Warriors or something like that. But the Armies of Ashmore, and was it Joe that asked that, I think, or Rudy?
JG.
Yeah, that's that's the wave. You have it right. You got it right. You look up Defenders of Eden, Armies of Ashmore, it's all the same.
So, real quick,
go ahead.
What is, like, for all of us that really want to see this line come to fruition and are very hopeful about this Kickstarter, what's your promotion plan? Like, I know you're basically doing the street level work. You're going to shows, you're showing these things off. You've been highly promoting them within like the Mythic Legion community. But how are you going to get the word out there to folks that maybe don't collect Mythic Legions or haven't gone to these shows? Like, what's your plan for, just getting the word out there about your line?
The plan, is there ever really a plan? Yeah. At the end of the day, I would say that the plan is, hopefully once we get into this next month, we get kind of a fan group page going as far as Facebook goes, where I know that kind of like where Facebook algorithms are weird. And I know you guys have probably dealt with them too, where like the ones that are like your actual page, like no one sees your actual page, but then when it's like a group page that's like ran by fans, like everyone sees that like 10 times as much. And it's so there's weird algorithms when it comes to that type of stuff. But yeah, the street level stuff it's tough though, because so for instance, like I'll go to MesquiCon and I'll get that kind of wonderful feedback because the Four Horsemen are there and there's this level of creators. Same with Legions Con. I went to a 3-day show here in it's the biggest show in West Michigan, Grand Rapids Comic Con last year, after Legions Con. And yeah, I had like a handful of people, but it was a 3-day show. And it was like I wasn't even there type of like, because it was just a show that people like to go see and people like to dress up like Harley Quinn. And it was just not the right place by any means. So there's a little bit of hit or miss when it comes to that type of stuff, just to make sure that, like you're saying, that the right eyes are seeing the product. And then they help.
I would imagine that, Motu people would kind of have an interest in this. Dinosaur people would have an interest in this, obviously. There may be some other tie-ins, like you said, maybe with Street Sharks or something else. There may be some other communities that, maybe if they saw this, they'd be like, oh, wow, I need to get in that. So I know typically with Kickstarters, we always preach, if you're, whether you're buying or not, try to share it as much as you can, because obviously we're trying to support the running it. So, obviously encourage everybody here on this show and anybody watching on replay that once the Kickstarter does kick off, share that thing wherever you can. If you're in a toy group that allows you to do that kind of thing, share it as much as possible, because it may get in front of somebody that didn't know about it. So
which is like to your point. It's so true. It's so true. I run a Comic Con here in April called Tulip City Comics and Toy Fair, and like I think like last year, like I was like, you know what, I'm gonna buy an ad, and like I share on these like local pages, like local like Holland Informed and like these like local pages, and still like nothing. Like the next week, like I'll have like somebody literally will be like, why didn't you tell us about this? We would have loved to go, type of thing. And there's always going to be that, but to try to, like you're saying, like cast that net, as wide as possible, to start, having that DOE toys, to have that group or that fan page, join these other groups and like these other groups where it's like, hey, I like 80s action figures or 90s action figures, or I collect this, or I Shooting the Shelf fan page, this type of stuff, where it's awesome with the toy community and our friends, like you guys know this, like they'll know this as well as I do, is that it's awesome to support friends and what they love to do, but then it adds just a little level of like whipped cream when it's like something you genuinely are like, hey dude, that's awesome, like that's awesome. So when you see that, like for example, like you guys have been doing this show, and Jesse, you've been doing the show for a while, like our buddy Tomas, like he started his little one-on-one interview thing, and I was telling him, I'm just like, that's awesome, like because we know him, like, and we support him, and so when you have these friends that support each other creatively, again, it starts at the top, and I can't say it enough. I mean, I hired them and I paid them very, very well, but like the Four Horsemen Studios, that like this creative cultivation of not only friendship but creativity that surrounds the Legion community and the Mythic community and the customizer community and the diorama community and all this stuff online. It's refreshing to see this many people genuinely support creativity with no strings attached. I mean, as far, you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it feels natural. It's not a like, I don't know if they have an actual example, but we're like, wait a minute, like, where's the string? Like, what's why are you talking to me like right now? Like,
right.
Jesse, wait, you want me on your show? Like, well, what do you want me on your show for? Because sometimes it can feel like that. And we definitely know, we have people in our lives in the past and I'm sure in the present that like you can kind of feel those vibes about. But when it comes down to the friendships that are built through action figures, it's just like, it's so weird to say that, like, it's like, you can't fake this stuff, bro, because we're freaking adults that love action figures. Like, there's no ego about it. Like, it's not like I'm cooler than you, bro, type of friendships. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's awesome. Well, and I'm sure as the Kickstarter starts, you're going to probably be doing the Star Kit, and I'm sure you're going to be on a few different shows. And I saw the Pixel Dan interview that he did with you. That was kind of cool. And
yeah, and even with that one, for example, I went to, and that was the Meet Geek Indie. I go down there, and I end up sitting right next to him, and like I've met him a couple times, just kind of in passing, but never really chatted with him. And he had his wife and kids. And he just said, man, I've been letting his kids came up and looked at him, everything. I got to give my comic books to his kid. And I told his kid, I said, hey, I told his son, I said, I don't care what your parents think about these comic books. I said, you read these and you let them know what you think so he can let me know. And he just said, hey, can I do a quick thing? And I was just like, thank you. Like I know you don't know, because when we chatted earlier, where he even will explain, people send him toys or they want to review this or that and stuff, and although he's in a wonderfully colorful and fun occupation, it's still a job, so it can still feel like a job in certain elements. So for him to want to do that for me, I was like, hey, I'm just grateful that you like it enough to not have to fake liking the toys that are next to you, and put on this fake smile, where he genuinely, enjoyed it and liked them and wants to see it succeed. So for him to do that, all of a sudden, no joke, my Instagram followers went like all of a sudden, like, cool. And I'm just like, and my wife's like, what the heck, and so it's again, it's cool and it feels surreal. But this next year is going to be so much fun, and because again, I love the creative process, I'm all about it. So like for the people watching here and the people that are going to watch later, like I can't wait to show. Did you get that picture, Jesse, that I sent you?
Oh, you sent it now?
I sent you I sent you that one
like shortly before we went live.
Yeah,
you want to bring it up?
Yeah, if you can. So part of the process, like, we definitely want to show and share that, like, there are steps to this. So because our action figures, they're just static and a lot of it's glued, you can't see any of the personality that you can kind of have with the posability. And so this is a very a simple pose that one of the guys that I hired I hired to do this job for. So basically, I hired to have them do a 3D printed, workable, posable prototype. And although it's very, very delicate, we're at least going to be able to take some more action pictures with them soon. Um, so yeah, he just looks phenomenal. Obviously he's just primered, and he isn't painted. But it was just something that he sent me. He said, "Hey, I'm working on this. We might have to glue the hips, but all of these joints work, and we're gonna fiddle with some posing." So as we do this, I want to show these people this because, hey, if you're going to back me and back this Kickstarter and you want to see these on your shelf, I not only want to deliver the even exchange of action figures for your money, but I definitely want to make you feel like it's worth it because you're part of this journey. So as we get these pictures and as we go through this process, I will definitely be bringing everyone along on this journey because I'm just a dude like you guys, and I'm just trying to dream big. Somebody guy. Hey, Scalavator. Hey, Scalavator. I just want to let you know I wore Axel's hat that he made. I asked my wife if I should wear your hat, and she said you have to wear Scalavator's hat when we're on Scalavator's show. So that's why Axel's hat is being worn. But
people are definitely impressed with the posability on this. It looks like you had somebody that's very experienced at posing characters help you out.
You wouldn't think this guy, just by looking at him, could do this with action figures, but he is phenomenal.
When you sent me this picture and I actually looked at it, it blew me away because knowing the Four Horsemen over the last year and a half or so, since almost 2 years that I've been into their stuff, I know what to expect with them. And I've read your comics now, so I know kind of character-wise kind of what I'm getting into with these guys. But seeing this, where you get that full juxtaposition or marriage of the character and the toy coming together, just the it's like you said, it wasn't so rigid because it's just the prototypes and everything. But seeing this, there's just so much personality. I think we said swagger on it earlier. It's just you see this guy coming at you across the battlefield or after a battle. It's depending on which side you're on, you're like, oh, cool, Saros is here, or oh crap, Saros is here.
Yeah. I mean, This isn't like a crazy crouch down Spider-Man pose, but just that little bit, like you said, instead of just in the static position, just that little bit of movement, you can tell really adds a lot of character to the figure. So.
Right, and I mean, even going back to your guys' shelf choices, where you got bird dude talking to dude with the bird on the arm, where it's telling a story. Like all of a sudden, it goes from static toy to toy with a story or character with a story. And so we definitely want to continue over the next couple of weeks as we're getting ready to launch, share more pictures like this and where we get them painted up and we show sort of this process so that people can see what they're really capable of as far as a large brute scale action figure. So
now this thing that he's standing on this picture, is that some sort of that's just for the photo, or is that a figure stand that
so that's just for the photo? But I was actually talking to the guy that posed this and explaining to him that it would be cool if we have sort of a stand, at least. I don't know if we'd be able to have a stand pack in, but a stand that kind of had that Ashmore feel that kind of fit well with the world of Eden. So we've been definitely kind of kicking that around as well. But I think this was just a stand that worked. I guess this guy that's doing this for me, he does this part-time, and so he has all these kind of action figure stands, and he's got all these paint brushes and all these he's crazy good. Again, you wouldn't tell by looking at the guy, but he's very, very good at posing action figures. So I had to hire him specifically for this part of the job.
Gotcha. Must have very nimble fingers.
Yep. Yeah, I would assume.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm missing something here.
Nope.
Cool. Well, this is awesome. I did have one. One more question from Simon here. What made these be the first characters that you chose out of all your properties?
Money. So yeah, I mean, legitimately, I mean, they were the widest net we could cast as far as the world of Eden went. Because as I've said before, it doesn't matter if you care about the comic books or my world of Eden. Seeing these action figures, definitely you might just buy them just because of the crossover playability and the concepts. So they were my first choice. I mean, when I was younger, I think Disciple 6, my characters in Disciple 6 were the first action figures I wanted made, because at that time I was collecting a lot of, later Toy Biz, X-Men action figures, early Marvel Legends action figures, Toy Biz stuff. So it would have been Disciple 6 characters. But as we went along, so I don't have one with me, but I was going to show you just the just the difference in sizes. So initially we went with this 3 3/4 size scale, because everything was Marvel Universe about that big. Even my buddy Jason at Animals of the Warrior Kingdom,
Mm-hmm.
he was in that 3 3/4 scale. So we went in this scale initially.
And when you say that scale, that figure is probably what, like 9 inches tall?
Right.
Like
correct. Yep.
Yep. Gotcha. So if you were making,
so the human would be up to, his bicep cut right there. So yeah, that's why we went with that scale, but everything went to the kind of the bigger scale. Yellow Costume Daredevil is probably one of the best Marvel characters ever created, just to let you know.
Okay.
So we went with the big guy here. So it's just really cool. It's been really cool seeing people's reactions to them. Again, having a high fantasy, high quality brute figure, dinosaur I can't even get the whole guy on the picture, but dinosaur figure. So that once we use this buck and do this Kickstarter, we can eventually do the snakes, and we can do another wave of 5 new characters, and then we can eventually do the humans, and then I can hand Nate Barch an action figure of Bana, his character from 20 years ago type of thing, which would be awesome and completely full circle. So
and then
yeah, this got
a Trek guy that moves like the Dragon Walker.
Yeah. Dude. Well, and so that's the thing we're looking at, like everyone's dropping for PowerCon, everyone's dropping these exclusives. And so of course in my mind I'm just like, okay, like what's going to be the exclusive? Like what are we going to come up with? So we've got some really cool ideas for our first exclusive that we're ever going to do. I don't even know what I'm saying. But yeah, it's all becoming reality, which again, it's awesome. And I think that the reason why it became reality or became the moment it became most real for me was Legion's Con last year, seeing people's reactions where I was like, okay, this investment, it's going to be worth it. And a lot of people are going to have fun and get these action figures. And I can't wait to see people taking pictures with these guys, and they're going to be sharing them on your pages for showing off their shelves.
I'm going to figure out how to do an all-in. I'm going to make that happen because I want to get them and I want to do a live.
And I told you what the all-in was, right?
No.
You told us what they were individually. I don't remember if you did.
So that would be
So if you do an all-in for all 5, they're going to be $60 each, which is basically going to be the $300.
Okay.
You get the all-in, and then obviously the Nate Barch artwork, and then we're still fiddling with a couple other things to see if we can add those into there without them being a big dent to the
whatever add-ons that get unlocked that we want to add to our cart afterward.
Right, exactly. Yeah. And so that's and you know what the biggest question I've gotten, uh the biggest or the most often question I have gotten from people is, where's the T-Rex? Where's the T-Rex? We're going to see a T-Rex. Show me a T-Rex. And I'm like, just take a deep breath. I'm like, look at these. I'm like, look at these hands and feet that are sculpted. There's nothing that's T-Rex about that stuff. So like, it's not going to be right now. But like, take a deep breath.
You're gonna have to have the T-Rex with the little arms.
Yeah, you got to have the little arms too.
Yeah. Everyone wants the little arm T-Rex. And I don't know who I was joking about it. I said that he's gonna have little arms and he's gonna have little like handles, and then he's gonna have these like mech like Jax from Mortal Kombat, like big metal arms that he just like
arms.
Yeah, that he uses.
So switching gears real quick, did you have anything more about the Kickstarter before we move on?
Kickstarter, most likely after the price change that my project manager said, it's most likely going to be we're going to have to raise 100. It was 92, it was 97 something that we were most likely getting, but it's going to probably have to be 100K. As far as that's kind of going to be the main goal that we need to hit to make this thing worth it as far as the entire line goes.
No problem. Chump change. We got this.
I do want to say one more thing.
Yeah.
So you're talking about Pixel Dan and doing an exclusive and stuff eventually. Just imagine this time, or I remember last year at PowerCon sitting in that hotel lobby, that second floor. I don't remember if you were there for that part, but like Pixel Dan and those guys were on the floor with their kids, like smashing figures together, doing like Castle Grayskull and stuff.
Yep.
Could you? How cool is it going to be if maybe PowerCon next summer, people are getting these in hand.
Yeah.
Someone's sitting there filming your stuff on the floor. Their kids are playing with them or something,
And honestly, I think that would be peak for me, because I've told people peak for me, like as much as I love creating and it's comic books and I can talk your ears off about anything related to kind of creative superhero stuff, is peak for me was walking into the toy aisle and seeing something I created. Like walking into a toy aisle, seeing something I created and seeing like a little kid like be like, this is cool. And I think that would hit that moment for me. Obviously, things have changed. Unless I was to get, behind getting line at Walmart and figure out how to get them on shelves. But again,
they wouldn't be.
Again, we're talking about the business side of things. So just like
those scalped.
What?
They'd be scalped. Somebody would swipe them all up.
Yeah.
Joe here says they look like they would go great with classics and any of the Ultimates line. I agree 100%. I even think with the Cosmic Legion reveals that we've seen so far, they've been doing some kind of crazy colors and things like that. I think these would fit in really well with some of those Cosmic.
And that's what's fun. You mentioned that, and so I can't wait. And you're wearing Wolf King Customs hoodie there. I can't wait for these awesome customizers that do 3D printed stuff to see if we can get a space helmet on this big Bronto right here, or something. Yeah. You know what I mean? Or an armor piece that would fit more with the Cosmic line side of things, where the creativity from the third party customizers, they're kind of the unsung heroes when it comes to a lot of these toy lines. So again, that's going to be just awesome seeing what people come up with, because I definitely think, I can look at this and I can see, I'm like, hey, thankfully we went with this scale, because there are so many lines that I feel like the niche that this line particular, the armies are in, and these couple waves we're going to do with them, that there's not, as I would say, there's enough crossover, but not enough where somebody could be like, oh, I want to get this instead of getting the dino, where I feel like the dino's like, well, the dino fits with this one and this one and this one and this one. Right. So I think that we've kind of hit kind of a little piece of that shelf, that shelf space. I think that we have a good enough quality figure that hits that shelf space that, like, I think that anyone's shelf like this could go on it. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it's kind of got its own niche. It's very unique in that it doesn't look like many other things that are out there right now, but it's close enough that it can work with other lines.
Right.
So
Exactly.
it'll mix with a lot of good stuff. So
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean, you're gonna see photographers doing stuff where, like Joe was saying, with classics, ultimates, of course, mythic legions, cosmic legions. I mean, you could work them in with just about anything that is on par, like detail wise. Like
Yeah.
with that level of quality that they're just gonna blend right into. Not disappear blend, but like merge
No.
in with
Yeah. But
everything.
work with. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
well, one of the things as you're going around doing the circuit, having these interviews, make sure that you hit up the toy huntress to have her talk about your stuff. I know she does some great reviews out there, and
So I talked to her. She actually has an agent now, which it seems odd for a reviewer. But I've been trying to get a hold of her agent and talking to this guy, and I'm gonna break the fourth wall here. I'm gonna show you something. Show you how much fun the Huntress has been having. So this right here,
oh wow,
this is all sitting here, and it's not on any of my shelves. And there's one specific reason why. It's because someone's not doing their job. But yeah, you know what? We're going, when we get those prototypes, I can't wait to do a couple interviews on her channel too. We have a lot of fun with it, and with her page and stuff like that too. So she's definitely the one that revealed this whole thing at first, and because she accidentally opened the box, and like she started just doing a video of the stuff, and she's like, I don't know if I should be doing this, and I'm literally texting her, you shouldn't be doing this right now, but
hey, that's cool though.
yeah.
But so switching gears a little bit, I know you've got a show coming up. You actually do a couple different toy shows, right? You do the Toy Haven, and then you also have the Tulip City coming up here pretty quick, correct?
Yep, Tulip City is going to be April 23. It is our 6th year. It's a one-day event. It's I used to say it's a lot like MesquiCon, if you guys are familiar with that show, but MesquiCon got big this year, so I don't even know if I can say that my show is a lot like MesquiCon anymore, because that became a big show. But yeah, we're one day local Comic-Con. We have an absolute lot of fun. And it's a kind of a kid-free event, so we keep it pretty light, and we're not heavy on the celebrities. The only celebrities we usually have, there's a comedian that's local to West Michigan. His name's Pete McCarthy. He occasionally comes. There's an artist. His name's Jeremy. I think it's Jeremy DeWitt. And then there's also a local kind of a low key celebrity. His name's Captain Tulip. So
cool. So I'm guessing if folks show up there for that Tulip City, that you're going to have your stuff there on display.
My stuff will be there. I actually have to reorder issue 1 of Defenders of Eden because we ran out at MesquiCon. So I got issue 1 reorders coming. And then we're gonna have a display with all of the action figures, and so people can see them in person, because as awesome as the pictures look, they look really, really good in person. So
awesome. Okay.
Cool.
Any other shows that you got coming up besides that people could find you at?
I'm working on getting in at PowerCon. Last year I did do PowerCon. I kind of had a small little piece of the table at the My Wife Is Going to Kill Me podcast table. It was a very small piece because they have 3 artists on their group. They've got a comedian, but then they got a toy seller who takes up 98% of the space. And so I'm looking at getting just, again, it would most likely be a table of just display stuff and kind of connecting with the people. And at that point, it would most likely be, just kind of bumping up the pre-orders for, the third party retailers.
Gotcha.
Because at that point, the Kickstarter will have to be finished. So.
what about if there are retailers that are interested in carrying these products? Do they just contact you? What is
Yep.
the best way of doing that?
Yep. They contact me. My email, it's just like what's written on the screen right there. It's ideasfrommars@gmail.com. And if you email me there, just put interested in retailing Defenders of Eden toys in the subject line and shoot me an email, because we're kind of compiling all of those lists of those people too, because we definitely know that there are a lot of people that use a lot of those retailers, and they might not be able to come up with the funds within this next month or two. So if they want to pick it up in 5 months, and order it through a big bad toy store type of deal, we definitely want to make those types of options available. So,
okay.
And that was ideasfrommars@gmail.com.
Yep.
Awesome. So I know we're getting close to the 2-hour mark, but there was something else.
Wait, whoa. You're trying to limit me?
No, I'm not.
I'm not. I mean, it sounds like Curtis is, but I'm not.
That is normally about the time that
No, I
understand. Down.
I need those reins.
Listen,
I'm a wild horse. I need those reins. I get it.
There's just
I've heard they can't
have
be
to
broken.
get out here before we get to the point where it does start winding down. You start running out of energy. I was told to ask you. You've got a lot of passions, a lot of loves. Motu, you're a very creative person, but I was told to ask you about one of your passions, which is for Kevin Costner. So can you just talk a little bit about that, your love for this man?
I don't know where to begin. So Kevin Costner entered my life when I was a young boy,
mm-hmm.
and he touched me in a way that I've never been touched.
This is a different kind of show all of a sudden.
Okay, so the only way I can describe it is when you're talking about a lead actor. A lead actor has to control the screen. It can be him on the screen. A lead actor there's something about him. You can't put your finger on it, but there's something about them. Okay. It has nothing to do with, he's a beautiful man. Let's do that. But it does have nothing to do with looks. It has nothing to do with anything like that. It's just, there's something about a lead actor. Okay. And this guy, Kevin Costner, for the past 30, 40 years, he's just been slowly just becoming the best, greatest actor of all time. And everyone just overlooks this guy. Everyone just overlooks this guy. And I'm over here saying, you give me his list of fantastic movies, and then you give me a list of any other actor's fantastic movies, and I can go toe to toe with any other actor. Kevin Costner is a beautiful man, and he's a national treasure. And Waterworld is a fantastic movie. I don't care what you guys are going to try to say about it. I don't care that the action figures are only worth $3 a piece on card, mint.
Okay.
But Waterworld is a fantastic movie. There is a tongue-in-cheek about it that is unrivaled. Well, I don't know. Unrivaled. I mean, Princess Bride does have a little bit of that tongue-in-cheek to it. And then Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I mean, what kind of guy says, you know what? F your accent. I'm just going to do me and still make a badass movie.
I've got to admit, I'm with you 100% on this. I don't know that I've seen a movie that he's been in that I did not enjoy. And that
did you watch the Highwaymen?
I have not seen that yet. I'm in the middle of watching Yellowstone right now.
Okay. Highwaymen also, he's a very, very good actor, and I feel like he doesn't get the credit he deserves. But if you go back into the old school stuff, you can see why he was who would he be considered today? One of these new hottie guys. I mean, I get why he was. I get why he was there. He was there, Chris Evans, and he didn't even have to work out. Nowadays, all these young hot actors have to work out and get jacked. Back then, he was like, no, I'm a semi-husky Robin Hood. You guys, screw you.
I will say, out of all the versions that I've seen of Robin Hood, that absolutely is my favorite. And like, even as a kid that was into super butch macho, like Conan movies and Beastmaster and this and that, I watched that, and there's this whole romantic part with him, and like, I loved it. Like, even as a kid that did not like that stuff, anytime that there's any kissing in a movie, like I'm like the boy from Princess Bride. I'm like, oh, this is a kissing book, you know? And I'm like, I hated it.
Yeah.
But Robin Hood, there's something just special about it. I love that movie.
No, that movie, the intro, I think, honestly, I think the intro music, I think it's actually the company's music, like the company that produced the movie, but it's not even their music to me. It's Robin Hood music to me. Like,
well, they've used it on Disney now sometimes.
Yeah. Because they know it's going to get people's hearts pumping because they think they're going to watch Robin Hood.
Yeah. Yeah, I was watching some Blu-ray a couple weeks ago, and I was like, wait, what did I put Robin Hood in? And I was like, oh no, this is just the Disney, like the magic of Disney, like their, general promo thing. And I was like, how do they have the rights to this music?
No, that honestly, that Robin Hood movie, it hits it, and the reason why those types of movies hold up too, honestly, is if you introduce those movies to little kids now. Yeah. Little kids now they'll eat that stuff up more than they'll eat up the new stuff that they're watching, because there's just something about, and we've talked about this before, there's something about this 90s adventure where like they don't make adventure movies anymore. We can go on that ramble, but it definitely hits that 90s adventure. How about the what's the other one? For the Love of the Game. Have you guys seen that one?
No, I don't think I've seen that one.
He's a professional baseball pitcher, and he's pitching the perfect game, and it goes through him pitching the game, and then flashbacks of his life as a baseball player. Just fantastic movie. Mr. Brooks. Scary movie. Well, fantastic movie.
I will tell you that my introduction to Kevin Costner, I absolutely loved the TMNT 1990 movie. Like, absolutely loved it. It was my favorite movie. Like, it was everything that I wished Masters of the Universe movie would have been, but fell flat. I felt like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle movie just nailed it, though. And I've told this story before, where I had a dollar theater down the street from my house, and I would just go there and just watch it over and over again. Me and my buddy went and watched it 5 times in one day in a row. And one day we were going up there. It was me and my mom, and she's like, "You can watch your turtle movie." She's like, "I'm gonna go watch this other movie, and when mine's a little longer, whenever yours is done, come over and see it." She was watching Dances with Wolves. Now, that's like 3 hours and 15-minute runtime, and TMNT's an hour and a half. so my movie got done, and I went over to her theater, and I'm like sitting there, and I'm watching another hour and a half of this guy doing most of the movie by himself with a wolf. Like, there's not, for the most part, he's not interacting with a lot of folks, and it was just phenomenal. Like, I was enthralled. I thought, like, looking back on it now, I'm like, I would have thought that year-old kid, me, I guess that was probably 13 years old, would have been sleeping through the rest of that movie. No, I was glued to the screen the whole time.
Yep. I'll like I said, I'll to my dying day, I don't think there's very many people that I would get legitimately starstruck over. I think that Kevin Costner would be one.
Did you ever
see too? I love Tin Cup. Like that. Such a good movie.
Oh, Tin Cup, The Bodyguard. What'd you say?
The Upside of Anger.
Upside of Anger, Bodyguard. I'm looking at it. A Perfect World. Crazy movie. JFK, Dances with Wolves. Chasing a Field of Dreams. Field of Dreams. Like, wait. We're literally talking about this, and we're not even mentioning any of these great movies.
Silverado, one of the best westerns ever made.
See, I've never seen that one either. I got to put that on the list.
It's a long ass movie, but it's, I mean, he's kind of a side character in that one, but that's, I think, one of the, I saw that before I knew who he was.
Yep. That's an early one. The Untouchables.
Oh yeah.
So,
but yeah, it's just Tin Cup. Okay, and this is one too that gets crapped on, but like from a creative standpoint, The Postman is a
I love that movie.
fantastic movie.
I love that movie.
yeah.
And that's another one that people like poop on it like they pooped on Waterworld. It's like, no, like I just think that it was, I want to say before, it's almost like it was before its time. Like it came out too, like, I don't know.
It was too far away from the Mad Max stuff, but it wasn't close enough to like the modern post-apocalyptic stuff to really land.
Right.
I think
Oh
there was
man, when
also,
he
like,
shows up and
budget
he
of
like
the
rips
film.
off his sleeve and shows that branding that allows him to challenge.
Was it the Rule of 8 or whatever?
I'm like, that's my boy.
Yeah, I mean, I think also the budget of that film and just, you know, I don't know. I think it didn't do as well as they were hoping for. But you watch it, and if you watch it with no expectations, if you just, you know, go into it not knowing how much they spent on the budget or whatever, and you just watch the film, it's a good film.
Yeah, I'm definitely like a what would you call it? I'm an apocalyptic guy. Like I enjoy whether it's a Waterworld or a Postman or the TV show Jericho. Like
that was great.
any interpretation of apocalyptic type of story, like I just enjoy because of the creativity behind it. Yeah, Jericho is another one that I recommend to people all the time.
My actual favorite Western of all time, also Kevin Costner movie, but he's the lead in it. Open Range.
Oh, fantastic movie.
It's one of the, I mean, that's just a fantastic movie.
I'm just putting more things down on my list to watch.
Him, Robert Duvall, Michael Gambon. It's a killer cast in that.
But I don't know.
It's
man.
one of those real.
I don't know
It's one of
how
those real slow burns, though, Curtis. Like,
yeah, I'll have to watch it, but I don't know how you can get better than Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. That's that to me. That's like ultimate.
oh man, what is it?
Western.
when it comes down to those Westerns, though, so my son, he just turned, or he's turning 14 this weekend. He a couple years ago, I introduced him to Tombstone.
Oh,
and
yeah.
just literally watching it. Like, I don't care what genre, like people want to say like video games are ruining kids and this and that and blah blah blah, like all this stuff. You put any 10 to 12-year-old kid in a room and you put on Tombstone, this freaking kid feels like a man. Like he just ends up feeling like a man. It was just incredible watching him. So like introducing him to like movies that I grew up with, like it's been so much fun. But yeah, I'm a sucker for a good Western.
That scene where Wyatt comes in and takes over the blackjack table and just you know, yeah.
And I didn't even realize that was Billy Bob Thornton.
Yeah.
I didn't even realize that, but like I'm just like, wait, that's like you're like watching that scene and you're like, I want to be that man. Like I want to be the man that will slap another man and that other man will just say, yes, sir.
Yeah. Well, and I read somewhere that Billy Bob Thornton like improv that whole part, like where he's being a jerk to the other people at the table and stuff, like all improv. They just told him to be a jerk. And
I'll definitely say, as far as Kurt Russell and Val Kilmer is brilliant in that movie. Oh, yeah. As awesome as those good guys are, like when you rewatch that movie, those villains make it a fantastic movie. Like they really, because I was watching it as a kind of a creator recently within the past handful of years, and it really goes to show you that like the unsung hero, like if those villains wouldn't have been that good or that good of actors, the movie could have been crap. But like
if Doc doesn't have Ringo, like
right, exactly,
work. It's like the play off of each other. Yeah,
exactly.
So good.
What about Wyatt Earp? The Kevin Costner
with Kevin Costner, yeah. Again, I'm a Molly's Game is a more recent one. That's actually, I think that one's based on a true story. And it's about a poker player.
Oh, with Jessica Chastain.
Yes.
Yeah, that was good.
But I've got to say those Robin Hood figures are terrible, Matt. They're terrible.
What do you?
No.
They're
The Robin Hood
terrible.
figures are fine. It's the Waterworld figures that are bad.
No, the Robin Hood ones were terrible too. And then
You know what? We've been getting along for 2 hours. Okay, Curtis.
I bought them too. I had them, but they were not good. And then didn't they like reuse the Ewok village as like Robin?
Yeah.
Like
That's what I had. Yeah, and they put leaves on it because the freaking
Yeah.
Ewok village didn't have leaves.
Yeah, it's like an Ewok village, but better.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, but that little that little what's it called? That little elevator on the side of that tree stand.
Yeah.
Costner with Maid Marian going down that rope. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
My parents bought me that play set. And then I opened it up and I looked at it and I go, you just brought my brother this play set 3 years ago. It was labeled as something different. It's the same thing.
You guys are you know what?
Hey, I'm defending
re-gifted the playset.
I'm not dissing the Robin Hood figures. I have the Sherwood Forest playset.
I tell you what, one of the coolest things I've ever played with, and I don't have an unboxed one right with me right now.
Yeah,
but this thing,
nice,
really cool.
That is cool.
It actually pops up just like in the movie, the sail pops up.
Yeah.
Like it's a really, really cool vehicle / playset type of
nice looking box too.
Does it actually float?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. Look at you and your inbox collection.
Man.
Nice.
But I tell you what, the cream of the crop is.
What's that?
The Prince of Thieves trading card set?
No, there's nobody owns that.
I do. I think I do.
I tell you
Sean and I will joke about those because there's one, and I realized this. The caption, like the because they would put the little banner across the bottom with like, you couldn't just look at the picture; it had to have a name, right?
Yeah.
It says a timeout for love, and I'm like, wait, that's the exact same caption on one of the Return of Jedi cards with Han and Leia.
they're regifting the playings too.
One of the worst things about the Robin Hood trading card set is there's one about, it says like, when Will Scarlet gets killed, it says something about Will Scarlet getting killed, and it's like, you take my body, but it won't be me. And I'm like, that's what Maid Marian says right before Sheriff tries to, I can't even say the word.
You can't tell me that a story where bad guys called the Smokers are driving around on a giant oil rig and they're all smoking cigarettes the entire movie. You can't tell me that that's not cool.
Did the sheriff in that movie, like, to me, that's like one of the most hated figures I can think of in any, like, I wanted to just punch him in the face so bad.
This guy?
No, in the sheriff in Robin Hood.
Oh.
Yeah.
Alan Rickman.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh
yeah.
God, I hated his character.
Dude. I'm telling you what, when he was trying to get on Maid Marian, and like Robin's about to swing through the window, and like he like lays on her and like opens her legs with his legs. I'm like, this mother effer.
You're right. Yeah. Why a spoon? Because it would hurt more.
Oh my gosh. I that movie raised me for a summer. Like my stepdad wasn't taking me to work with him yet. And I would go downstairs in the basement, and it was early 90s. So I was 11, 12, 13 years old. So I wasn't going to work yet every day with my stepdad in the summer. But I would go downstairs, and I only had a couple tapes that worked that I liked, and that one was one of them. I would just watch it over and over while I'm building like Lego castle sets and all this stuff. And so like, I'm so mad that when they put the Blu-ray or the DVD out of Robin Hood, it's not the theatrical cut. It's like the extended cut, because I had the pacing down. Like I knew the lines, the rhythm, and everything. Now, like it throws me off now.
Yeah, I know we've talked about it before, but I'm like that with the TMNT DVD because they don't have the Pizza Hut commercial at the beginning
Yeah.
with the kid in the outfield. I'm
I play
I'm like, oh yeah, I want to
Yeah.
sing the Pizza Hut thing, and they have they're talking about their pan pizzas, and you read so many books and all that kind of stuff, and it's like, man, that's being a kid right there.
Yeah, when Pizza Hut used to be good.
Yeah, they bring out that pan with the pizza in it, and it was like 1,000,000 degrees. If you touch that pan, you would burn your fingers off.
Those clear red cups,
Yeah,
checker tablecloths.
good stuff, man.
So, Defenders of Eden coming soon to Kickstarter in a month.
I'm trying to think of who in my books or who in my stories I would have. Honestly, in Modern Wonders long range,
Mm-hmm.
early Kevin Costner, he'd make a great long range.
Are you watching Yellowstone?
I am not. My wife's actually watching the other two right now. There's like 2 prequels. There's 18 something and 19 something.
Oh, I don't know what that. I haven't seen that. I just started watching Yellowstone. I'm on the midway through the 4th season, I think.
Okay, yeah. It's like the Dutton family, and so there's one called like 1882, and then there's one called like 1928 or something, and they're both prequels that involve that family.
Gotcha.
The one is Helen Mirren and Harrison Ford are the Dutton family. They're the husband and wife.
Oh, okay.
But she's enjoying it very much right now. So
yeah, he's really good in that.
Yeah, I believe you because he's Kevin Costner.
That's true. But even in his, we'll say, advanced age, like he still just owns every scene.
Yeah, yeah,
it's like, yeah. And you really believe, like it's funny in a lot of the scenes. It's like you still wouldn't want to mess with him. Like you said, he's never like been like a jacked guy, but it's like he just has this swagger about him that you're like, I don't want to mess with that guy.
Yeah, he's definitely what a man is.
Yeah.
In my if you were to say, give me this police sketch, describe what a man looks like I'm drawing Kevin Costner.
I mean, not to step on anybody's toes, but he's an alpha that doesn't need to tell you he's an alpha.
Wow. Man,
that's peak alpha though. Honestly,
yeah.
I think peak alpha is.
I think that probably anybody that would be offended by that statement has probably gone to bed, so we're probably safe.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, I don't think Kevin Costner would feel the need to wear shades to let people know that he's cool. So
if you do get to watch Highwaymen, which is essentially Bonnie and Clyde, but told from the storyline of the good guys,
mm-hmm.
Him and Woody Harrelson playing off of each other is also fantastic.
Yeah. Even if that movie went nowhere and there was it was just them hunting 2 random people down, I would be just as fascinated with that movie. They're great in that movie.
Well, I have added a lot of things to my list of stuff to watch in this episode, so thanks a lot, guys.
Yeah, at least we're not telling you to read books, okay, Curtis?
Hey, you know what? I'm winning then. We're good. So... Cool. Well, anything else you got going on, or anything you're watching or looking forward to this year? Or
honestly, I kind of like me and the kids we go see movies. First of all, Guardians of the Galaxy, excited to see.
Mm-hmm.
It's right now. I think it's gonna end up being the best Marvel trilogy as far as just kind of singular storylines go, and then. I've never been a huge Mario, I play the video games and stuff,
mm-hmm.
but that genuinely looks fun.
I'd rather get the SNL version, but yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Which again, you watch that skit and it's like, this looks apocalyptic. I'm down.
It looks cool, man. I would watch the heck out of that.
But hey, I'm not going to argue with anybody about it, but I definitely have a soft spot creatively for that original live movie. I can talk about what qualities that movie has that I definitely can appreciate. Obviously it's not what people wanted. But it definitely had its own vision and its own like direction of what it wanted to do.
Yeah, I can't say the same. Like I try to do that with a lot of things like Masters 1987. I was not happy with it at the time as a kid. I look back on it now, I'll watch it and it's nostalgic and I love it for what it is. I still wish they would have done different things.
Sure.
And I think it could have helped rejuvenate the line.
Yeah.
But I love it for what it is. But yeah, I watched that. If I were to watch that Mario movie, I would struggle to get through it and I would hate every minute of it. Like there's nothing redeeming about that movie. I can't even appreciate it for what it is. So I don't know. I would rather watch the like where they had the Mario cartoon and then they did like the Captain Lou Albana. Like,
yeah,
I'd rather watch that, the Mario show.
Nice.
You
a Nintendo guy, Jesse, at all?
No. I mean, okay. I'm not anti-Nintendo. It's just never been.
Yeah.
I never had Nintendo, so.
Yeah, it's interesting to see especially within the toy community, the crossover of like video game guys, you know, because I don't think there's as much crossover as some people would expect. Some people would expect like, oh, you collect toys, you must be video game guy. Like video game guys a totally different animal. Like these guys are like hardcore gamers. Like these guys are guys that do it for hours at a time. I don't think there's as much crossover between the two kind of types of people as people would think. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because going into GameStop over the last couple of years, because I would start going into GameStop every now and then because, action figures or whatever. And then I got into Pops pretty heavily for a while. And, I'd go in there and I'd hear guys complaining about the game side of it, about all the Pops and the toys and the things they had. Now I go in there and there's like, anyway, but I would have to explain to the people at the store, I'm like, I don't have a game system. They're like, oh, you don't have anything? I'm like, no. I was like, I don't even have Angry Birds on my phone anymore. Like, I play D&D. And I'm here looking for toys.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like folks our age when they were younger, obviously like Nintendo came out in like 85, and then all of a sudden you had Super Nintendo and Sega Genesis, and then you went into PlayStation. And I think that you saw some kids went hard into the video game and some kids kind of stayed with the toys.
Yep.
And so I think that's what you see today is like which ones went that way and which ones went this way.
Sure.
And it's not too often that you have people that went hard in both,
Yeah.
Yeah, I was definitely more of a toy guy growing up than I was a video game guy for sure. But
well, there I got my 15 minutes over past 2 hours out of you.
And
all Curtis
bring it up.
All Curtis had to do was drop a little Kevin Costner on us.
Yeah, my source told me to bring it up, and I'm like, well, is this like a joke thing or is this like a serious thing? And they said a little bit of both. I'm like, okay, all right, sounds good. I can talk about Kevin Costner for a while, so that works. Plus,
definitely in my opinion, overlooked and underrated.
Yeah, I could see that. I mean, just think about all the movies that we listed off before we even got to Field of Dreams. Like that was a, pretty lengthy list. So.
Right.
Cool. Well,
hey, I appreciate you guys having me on too. Obviously we've wanted to set this up and it's been good. So.
Yeah, we're excited, man. This is going to be great stuff. Like I said, anybody out there in the chat, anybody watching this on replay, share it as much as you can. We want this thing to really just take off because not only is this first wave fantastic, but I'm excited about what that would open up for future waves. So,
agreed.
Absolutely.
All right, guys.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. And if you have any good images or things to use to send out for promoting, like send it my way, our way. We'll
perfect.
Yeah, I'll put that all over the place. Otherwise, I'll just steal it from your Instagram and use that way.
There you go.
That was good, man. Well, you guys have a good night. Thanks for having me. And
thank you, Matt.
See you around the shelves, or I don't know what do you do? What do you say?
I always close it out with what's on your shelf, but
do I leave first before you end it?
Yeah, yeah.
We'll put you backstage, do the closeout, and then we'll bring you back on and just tell you how great you did.
Okay, I'll be over here then.
There you go.
Okay.
All right. Thank you everybody for showing up tonight. This was a blast, and yeah, who knew Kevin Costner was gonna get so much chat time tonight?
I had an idea, but that's just because I'm the one that brought it up.
And yeah. No, that was good. This was great. I'm really looking forward to the Armies of Ashmore line and all of Defenders of Eden. I have the first 3 comics, so I'm enjoying that, and I cannot wait to see where the rest of this goes. So yeah, look for that on Kickstarter next month for 2023, and support Matt and that line. Yeah. Curtis, anything from you?
Did another studio today, customizing studio. Probably do another one next Sunday. So look for that. If you got any projects that you're working on, that's always fun. Just kind of hanging out and painting with folks. Other than that, no, I don't think I have anything else this week. And
Wolf King had a drop yesterday, right?
We added some new parts. So yeah, there's some new things in there. Some real cool things from Neil Wickman that got added. So yeah, check that out. But I think that's it until next Sunday. And next Sunday we have.
Oh, yes. Thank you. I almost forgot. Next Sunday, joining us on the shelf, the one and only Oz from Ostradamus Toys. Some of you folks are familiar with him. I've joined him on his Legions class on the show. He does on his channel. Great guy over in the toy community on YouTube, and just really trying to build up a good community of toy folks. So check it out next Sunday night, 9 p.m. Eastern.
Cool.
And with that, we'll bid you all a fond farewell, adieu, something like that.
Yeah, that works.
See you on the shelf next time. And as always, what's on your shelf? Oh, I got to click the button.